This is EB3, speaking the truth in love, and I just come on for a few minutes to give you guys a word of encouragement. If you like this video and you want more content like it, like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share. I just come on because I wanted to talk a little bit more about women's rights. But I just want to go back and remind us as women that there's a lot of things that we weren't able to do for a long time. And some of those things, it really hasn't been that long since we've gotten the right to do it. And they are little by little trying to change those laws back, reverse all the laws. Okay. So one of the things, did you know that at one time that women were not allowed to go to college? See, we know black people as a whole were not allowed to have any kind of education for a long time. But even after, even during like Reconstruction and all those times, there was only like a certain amount of education women were supposed to get. It was only until 1847 where women could get a college education. Right? Think about that. Most of the teachers were women. So how were they educating folks if they couldn't go to college? That's a lot to really think about, because a lot of men weren't a lot of men teaching little bitty kids is what I'm saying. Like, even in the white community, there weren't a lot of men teaching little kids. So how do they do that? I remember talking to some older people, because I've talked to older people. I'm getting older myself, but ever since I was a little girl, I've always listened to older people. I've sat at the foot of older women, just listening. Didn't say nothing, because back then you didn't talk. You were seen and not heard. And sometimes you better not be seen paying attention to what the grown folks talking about. But I remember some women talking about back in the day where their husbands, if the woman was allowed to work, they did not keep the money, right? The husband, they brought all the money home to the husband, and the husband dished it out to everybody. But did y'all know that there was a law about that? That it wasn't until 1900 when women were legally allowed to keep their own money. Ain't that something? See, this is the kind of stuff they want y'all to go back to, while y'all trying to run up and vote for them. Now that's 1900. Now it took 74 more years for them to give you the right to own your own bank account, a savings account or a checking account. Up until then, you had to have what you call a male benefactor, which most of the time is going to be a husband. For all those single women who were not able to get married, they had to have some kind of a male relative or friend to be on their bank account. Isn't that interesting? And that was up until 1974. That is not that long ago. I was born in 1972. So think about that. So a lot of people don't understand how important that is, because it was in 1968. In 1968, women that was the first time that a woman could buy their own home. But listen, I just got through telling you that you couldn't have a bank account until 1974 on your own. So if you bought a home, you had to pay cash for it. But just think about it. Years ago, in 1900, you couldn't even keep your own wages. So in 1968, a woman, married or single, could finally buy her own home. but she had to pay cash for it because she couldn't get no loans. You got to think about this. You couldn't have no savings account, you couldn't have no checking account, and you could not sign for a loan as a woman. Okay. These are the things when they talk about putting people back in their place. I want y'all to think about this because this is some serious stuff. So, it was only until everybody talk about divorce. Now, we're going to talk about divorce for a minute, but I want to say that I am not a proponent. I do not believe in divorce. I believe it. I believe that sometimes it's a necessary evil when you have been in a situation where you just can't take it no more. But what I want y'all to realize, it was only until 2010 that a woman has been legally able to go in there and say, no, they want a no-fault divorce. You could not file for a no-fault divorce as a woman. You had to prove that there was an adultery or there was physical abuse and all those type of things. And we know anybody who has been in a bad relationship or anybody who has lived in those confines, which meaning a child who has had an abusive, have witnessed abusive situation between their mom and their dad or their mom and stepdad or whatever the situation may be, it's hard to get out of those kind of things. People say just leave, but it's hard to get out of that kind of situation. So you had to prove that before you can get a divorce. It's only been to 2010 that you can have a no-fault divorce with a woman. The woman filed, right? So let's think about that. For a long time, you couldn't have your own bank account. You couldn't buy your own house. You couldn't keep your own money. You had to have permission to even work from your husband. This is a lot when you think about it. This is a lot. Women were under bondage. Okay. So now let's go down to some other things that we need to look at. Voting. You know how now they saying they need the woman's vote? Well, you just started being able to vote in 1920. And that's white women. Because remember, black people had the right to vote. They revoked that right, or did put all those Jim Crow laws and stuff in to keep Southern black people from voting, right? So in the 60s is when we actually were able to vote peacefully. And they trying to roll some of that back. But just think, if the white woman just started being able to vote, and it counting in 1920, and how much longer it took for us as a people, the black people, men and women, for their vote to count. See, people, they looking at a lot of things, but they're not looking at life as it is. We're looking at it like we want it to be. It's not like that, okay? So we're gonna go to a little bit into birth control. It was only until 1965 when married women had a right to have birth control. And isn't that something? No. Yeah, that's right. Then in 1972 is when unmarried women had a right for birth control. Y'all keep talking about everything's about abortion, but everything is not. All rights are not about abortion. But it starts there. That's where it starts. And again, I am not a supporter of abortion. some things I don't consider abortion. Like, for instance, when I had the tubal pregnancy, like, some people would consider that as abortion, but I almost died. Literally. I flatlined on the operating table because I was bleeding to death. My doctor at the time was treating me for irregular cycle, and I was pregnant in my tube. And it had not been for the grace of God, I wouldn't have went to the doctor, because I knew I was hurting so bad. It's such an excruciating pain. It hurts so bad. It's worse than actually having a child, giving birth to a child. And then later on, I had a miscarriage. And I just watched this video earlier where this young lady almost bled out because she couldn't get help from a miscarriage. See, it's a lot going on besides just abortion. They are literally trying to take us back to the 1800s. It was after World War II that women were able to serve in the military. And that year was 1948. And you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, like in the military. I appreciate every man and woman that serve the military. EB3, speaking the truth in love. Be blessed, be a blessing. And I am out.